In this lecture, we will talk about the wait and see strategy. This means this strategy talks about doing a little more than what the law requires. This happens when there is an increase in environmental sensibility. So if you have watched the previous lecture on taking the low road strategy, you must know that taking the low road strategy requires minimum level of environmental sensibility, a low environmental sensibility. So this strategy of wait and see, this happens when there is an increase in the environmental sensibility and in mainly the managers of the company. So this is related to mainly the managerial level of a company. We call it wait and see strategy because nobody is asking the company much right now. So be it the stakeholders or the consumers, nobody is asking the company much about environmental issues, but the company itself, they feel that maybe we need to pay attention to this issue because this might become a bigger issue in the future, or the consumers might start asking for these things in the future. But whatever is it's driving them to become a little more sensible towards the environment. And so currently, there might not be too much environmental sensibility, but the management team feels that the environmental risks and issues may come up later, and they might have to pay the price of what they are doing today. And consumers may in future demand sustainable practices and products, and there may be some change in their consumer base itself because there might be new technologies coming up. As we know that we have now greener technologies, so the consumers might start demanding the company to shift to those greener technologies and those greener products. So, looking into all these, keeping all these in mind, a company might want to shift to a little more environmentally sensible model of doing business. This also happens when sometimes the competitor companies are adopting greener technologies, which puts them in a higher moral base than your own company. So there is an anticipation about future jurisdictions in the field of environment, uh, and you feel that you might be the one who will have to pay the price, or who will be at the receiving end of these stricter regulations. And you see your competitors changing their business models according to the new greener technologies that are coming up. They are adopting solar power, or they are installing LED lights in their offices, or they are going ahead with better logistics. So these are some steps that your competitors are taking. So this company might feel that we also need to change our business model according to what the future jurisdictions might come up, or the competitors might be doing. And they by wait and see, what do we mean is that it would be good to start paying more attention today and then see what happens, rather than getting stuck in a situation where you are not able to take stricter steps very soon, because it takes a lot of time for a company to adjust to a new model of doing business. So meanwhile, nobody wants to get stuck in a situation where their activities can meanwhile get suspended. So it's always good to start paying attention today and then wait and see for tomorrow, in the sense that we'll see what happens tomorrow. And this also helps cover some regional legislative differences. So in the previous lecture, where we talked about the strategy of taking the low road, we saw that since there is very little cushion, the company is very limited in the sense that they cannot expand to regions which have stricter regulations, because it requires them to take very fundamental steps to change their business model itself. Here in this strategy of wait and see, we see that since the company is already doing a little better in terms of environmental issues, there is some cushion. with respect to the legislative differences that different regions might have. So they might be able to expand their business to more regions as compared to the taking the low road strategy. And because for that strategy where we say we talk about take the low road, taking away the list of regulations, it's enough. So you can have a list of regulations, and then you can see which regulations you comply with and which you don't, and you can just correct them. You can make your business model adjust according to the regulations, and you can just take away the list. But with wait and see strategy, attention needs to be paid to the process of creating new regulations. You should be very aware of what you can expect in the future, so that you can change your business model according to that expectation or that future legislation that might come up. So therefore this needs a little more attention uh, in environmental issues, environmental regulations. And you also need to look deeply into consumer behavior and trends, and see what people are talking about. So as the trend of organic food these days is catching up, so you might see a change in a consumer behavior. If you are a food company, if you are some company who deals with food, so you might see a change in consumer behavior, and you might see that the consumers are now wanting or moving towards more organic options, more organic food. They are demanding food which is made from organic materials. So this is a trend or a behavior that might affect the future business pattern. So it is good to change your business model in advance to sort of be in line with that changing behavior or trend. Also, it is equally important to keep an eye for new technologies that might come up, because sometimes it so happens that such technologies are good for the business in a longer run, in the sense that they are both environmentally sustainable, and they are good for the business, and they are even sometimes cheaper in the longer run. They might help you conserve a lot of resources. So because a lot of technologies these days focus on using renewable energy or recycling or reusing whatever you have, so this might in a longer run help you save a lot of money. So this is one thing which is important to be kept in mind when you work on this model of wait and see. Now on this graph where we earlier had put take the low road strategy, we saw that when there is minimum level of compliance and a low level of environmental sensibility, we can place take the low road strategy somewhere here. Now wait and see, as you know, it requires a little increase in environmental sustainability, and also some increase in the level of compliance, in the sense that you are doing a little more than what the law requires, what is the minimum requirement of the law, so that you have some cushion. So this is some cushion where you get some possibility of expanding to new places. So I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Bye.